Yo people, welcome back to this channel. Yeah, this is the second episode of the online tutorial series. If you've not seen the first episode, please do so. It's very important. This is the second episode. As I mentioned in the first episode here, the first two episodes we're talking about the basics and the fundamentals to video editing. Basically the theoretical aspect of video editing, terms and the things we need to know, the basic things we need to know before we can call ourselves video editors. Why this is important is because once we get into the softwares, there are some things we'll be repeatedly using, and once you do not have a good grasp of them now, they might give you issues while you carry on. Understandably, so you're going to get into the softwares and start editing, cutting, and everything. But right from next episode, we'll get that done. Okay. So before we get started, let's hit the intro. Yes, so that was too fair. We have a lot of things to learn today, so I'll try and take it as fast and as slow as I can. As fast not to waste time, and as slow to make you all understand. Alright, and I will see how I can break it down during editing to paint a picture of what I have seen, so you see it and understand better. Okay, so we'll be starting with the terminologies used in video editing. I have my screen here just to make sure I do not miss out on anything, so I don't forget anything. Okay, so the first one we want to work with frame rate. When you see something like FPS, that's your frames per second. Okay, so what frame rate is the number of frames in 1 second. Now, understandably, we know that videos, films, motion pictures, I'm using those words interchangeably. Yeah, it's as I said, motion pictures. It's pictures moving, pictures in motion. Like for example, you take a picture of me like this, take a picture of me like this, take a picture of me like this, take a picture of me like this. That's when you combine everything together, it feels like I am moving this way. So that's what motion picture is. So when we talk about frames per second, right, it's number of images, number of pictures you have in 1 second. For example, you have different frames per second. You have 24. I'm currently shooting on 24 on my camera. We have 24 frames per second. We have 29, we have 30, we have 120, we have 240. You can have up to 2,000, 4,000 frames per second. Alright, depends on the camera you're using. Now, why this is important is before you do any work in any video editing software, especially Premiere and After Effects, since we're working with that, you have to set your frame rates. It's one of the things you need to set. You need to set your frame rate. Now, most films shoot on 24 frames per second, but most phones shoot on 29.97 or 30 frames per second. Now, what this is for 24 frames per second. For example, I said I'm shooting on 24 frames per second. When I move my hand like this, you can see the blur, the motion blur. You can see how it's moving. You can't see my hand at specific points. Alright, but when you're shooting on the higher frame rates, yeah, let's say 240 frames per second, what it does is it reduces the shutter speed, that's for cameras and everything, such that it captures every single movement of your hand so that you don't see any blur. And that's why when you do slow-mo on an iPhone, for example, it's either shoots, depending on the iPhone you have, that either shoots in 120 frames per second or 240 frames per second. So that's what the slow-mo does. It captures every single point. Now, when you want to change that 240 or 120 frames per second to let's say 120 frames per second to 24 frames per second, now that's 24 times 5 will give you 120. So you have to speed it up 5 times to match 24 frames per second. Alright, so the number of, you can just do the math and you know how to achieve that. So let's say you are working with 24 frames per second and you want to slow it down to 120 frames per second. That's the early job, but then you have to reduce the speed at 5. So that's why your frame rate is. Now, frame rate is important because there's some works you'll be doing that you'll be needing a lot of motion blur. If you'll be shooting, that is, there are some that you will need motion blur. In After Effects, for example, you can set your shutter angle. When you reduce your shutter angle, you're reducing the motion blur. But when you increase it, it's like it's going very fast, so it's capturing everything at once. That's what your frame rate is. I hope you understand that. Now, let me talk about aspect ratio. Right? So your aspect ratio is the ratio of your width to your height. You have pixel aspect ratio, you have aspect ratio. I'll tell you what pixel aspect ratio means also. But sometimes people that don't know the difference can use it interchangeably. Okay, so your aspect ratio is from width to your height. So when you go on YouTube, for example, watching a video, you can have it playing in 360p. Your P just stands for pixels, alright, depending on your network. So it tries to get a quality that you can match to play smoothly based on your network. So you can have 360, you can have 480, you can have 720, you can have 1080p, you can have 2160p. Your 2160p is your 4K, your 1080p is your HD. So what your aspect ratio is the number of square pixels you have in your frame. Okay, so let's say you're watching 1080p, you discover that you can see it better because it has paid more attention to details and it has given more priority to the detailing of your frame of what you're looking at. For example, you're watching in 360p, you discover that it's not clear, so it doesn't care, so it just takes little information just to make sure you still understand what you're looking at. So it takes little pixels from each part of the frame just to make sure you still at least have an idea of what you're looking at. But say you see something in 240p, it gets worse as it goes down. All right, so the higher pixels you have, the clearer it is. Now, I mentioned HD, I mentioned 4K. So what your aspect ratio is, I said earlier, is the ratio of your width to your height. Yeah. So for let me start from the top. For 4K, for example, that's 2160p. Yeah. Your aspect ratio, that's your width to height, is 3840. Your width is 3840 pixels. Your width 3840 pixels, then your height is 2160 pixels. That's that for aspect ratio. Now your pixel aspect ratio is about the same thing. Remember I said your aspect ratio is the ratio of your width to your height. Now your pixel aspect ratio is just it doesn't leave it that way. So your 1080 in 1920 1080, it doesn't leave it that way. What it does is it divides it something like 1.77 to 1 or 1.99 to 1 or 1.29 to 1. So that's your pixel aspect ratio, that's the division. So that's why I said people use it interchangeably sometimes. It actually means the same thing, even though you're working with. So your framing and composition, that's important for both photography and videography. Now, what it is you set your composition, you set your aspect ratio of your composition you want to work with. Alright, so your framing and composition is basically the positioning of your elements spatially in your frame or in your composition. Alright, so for example, you're looking at me now. You can see me, you can see the chair, you can see part of the system, you can see part of the bike, alright, and you can see the calendar behind me. So those are the the positioning of your elements within the frame. That's what your framing and composition is. There are some basic rules that guide your framing and composition, but for beginners, it's advised that you strictly adhere to these rules, alright. Strictly follow them, yeah. But as you go on, you can be creative with them, right? So that why the rules are there is because, for example, here I'm seated now, and you can see that part of my head is out of the frame. As you are seeing it now, part of my head is out of the frame. Now that's not a good framing. That's not a good framing at all. That's why I allow the little headroom over here. That's what your framing is, the positioning of your elements, especially in your frame or your composition. Right, so that's that. And your final thing is your rough cut. Your rough cut is your first cut. Okay, you are given a lot of footages and you are asked to edit them. Now, one thing I never do is once I am done editing, I never submit my rough cut. I can spend 5 hours editing and I assume I am done. Then I can go back, take an hour or 2 hours break, and come back and start all over again. I will discover that I need to cut some points, I need to add this, I need to remove this, and your video might get longer or shorter. Now discover that your second or your third or your fourth cut will be way better than the rough cut. Your rough cut, there are a lot of things you don't consider, whether time or you're trying to be fast and just join everything together. But your rough cut is important to just lay a foundation, just give a basis for your editing. That's what your rough cut does. So that's about terminologies of video editing. Now, talking about your composition and your framing. Okay, now no matter the kind of editor you want to be, yes, we will get to a point where we'll be giving footages of different aspect ratios, different frame compositing and everything. Now it's our job as video editors to help them tell their stories. Now, maybe you're working professionally and you are at the mercy of the producer and the director, but as an indie editor, an independent editor, right, a freelance editor, you have the role to tell the story of maybe you're editing for a brand, you should be able to tell their story for them. And sometimes you might be required to shoot. This is it's not a necessity, but it's important as you are learning video editing, at least have an idea of the footages you are working with. It will help your professionalism. Now I'm saying this because there are different types of shots that you will encounter when you are editing. I won't take so much time on this one. I'll just give it a little time and then I'll show them on the screen so that we see them and we'll know the difference. Okay, yeah, those are the type of shots that we have. Now, it's not compulsory you know the name, or at least have an idea of. Now, why these things are important is because each type of shot communicates different messages. For example, your extreme wide shot. Now, most times it's used to, rather than the individual, it's used to lay emphasis on the environment rather than the character. It's used to lay emphasis on the environment, on the landscape, as what your extreme wide shot is. Now, talking about edits and cuts. While editing, this is majorly for those that want to learn Premiere, those that want to learn editing, not motion graphics, not animation, and all of that. Now, there are different kinds of cuts, and there are reasons these cuts are used. Just to make sure I do not miss out. Let me follow what I have. Number one, you have your ad cut or your standard cut. This is like your regular cut where you just, as I said, maybe there's a particular second you want to pop out from, you just go straight from footage A to footage B, like straight up. That's your ad cut or your standard cut here. No transition in between, no wipe, no push, no anything. Just add. Go from scene A to scene B, alright, or maybe shot A to shot B if you are shooting with multiple cameras and all of that. Yeah, that's something I should talk about much later. Alright, so you have your J cut. So what your J cut is like your letter J. Alright, so how it happens in editing is you have your video and you have your audio. Alright, you see it on the screen, but let me just say how to explain. You have your video and your audio. So you usually have your video on top and your audio down. So what happens is your video, I said this is J. So let's say you have your video and your audio. Now your audio will elongate, alright, to form that letter J. So you have already changed the video showing, but the audio of video A. So you have changed from video A to video B, but the audio of video A that is still playing. So that's what your J cut is. Then your L cut is the opposite of it. Now you have your video, your audio. So your L cut is your audio starts playing before the video of the audio shows up. Now something is definitely playing, but then your audio superimposes the previous shot before your original video, that audio shows up. So that's what you have as your L cut. This is your J, this is your L cut. So you can use the data to know what you're using. Alright, so this is just for posterity's sake, to make sure that let's say you carry your edits to give someone else, or you are working, you're collaborating on a project, and then your co-editor says, why don't you use the J cut here, why don't you use the L cut here? So you know what you're working with and you just seem like a novice. So now you have jump cut. Now most YouTubers use jump cut a lot. Now your jump cut is you are here and the next moment you are here. Alright, so that's your jump cut. Just jumping without proper transitioning. Now in movies, this is not professional, especially if you are working on one angle, except you decide to be creative with it. Now, all movies they use this jump cut a lot. Let's say you are in a room, someone is at the window, all right. Then before you know it, the person is in your front. So the moment between the window and the front, that period has been cut away, all right. So that's a jump cut. Your cross cutting, and your cross cutting is also known as parallel editing. Now, what this is assuming A is happening somewhere, then B is happening somewhere at the same time. Okay, your cross cutting is you are showing A, then you cut, then you show B, then you cut back, you show A, you cut back, and you show B. Now it's happening at different places, but it's happening at the same time. That's what parallel editing or cross cutting is. Now it's used to create this tensioning effect. Something is happening, for example, you're in a house, you're trying to create a scene in your mind. You're in a house and someone is coming from afar with his car, and let's say you have someone that's about to attack you at home, and so that person is coming with speed and everything, and you are, they're just cross-cutting between this and this, this and this, this and this, and it just creates tension. That's what cross-cutting is for. A match cut is, for example, you are filming a car, then you film the tires rolling. Yeah, if you film the tires rolling, then the next shot is your fan rolling. So you try and match the movement of the tire and the rolling of the tire with the movement of the fan. So it gives this kind of unreal transition between the rotation of the tire and the rotation of the blades of the fan. That's what your match cut is. Now, when it comes to sound, there's something we should know when it comes to sound. You record in stereo. Your stereo is your left and right. You can record in mono. That's your center. It just matches your left and right together. Right now I'm recording in stereo on my PC. That's your stereo, then your mono. And you also have this is not necessary, but as I said earlier in the first video, you can have 5.1, you can have 7.1. Now this is your surround. Most home theaters can have 5.1. Home theaters, yeah, that one is a subwoofer that caters for the low frequency. In 7.1 also you have 7 speakers around. Then that one is a subwoofer that caters for the low frequency. And you also have Atmos and Dolby. These are technical terms I won't be using for now. Even then Premiere makes room for them. Now I mentioned them because in Premiere you can set to 5 channels, 5.1, one subwoofer. You can also set to 7 channels, one subwoofer. You can just work simply in stereo and you can work in mono. That's that about sound. Now, when it comes to editing sound, there are some effects we can apply, and this effect is dependent on your preference. I know particular rules you can give. And one thing I do, the first video, I had to remove, how to edit the white noise that was in the video. I had to kind of turn that down. That's depending on your audio, depending on what you want to achieve. So there are no specific rules to do this one. And that's about all. I hope you gained something. It's quite a lot of knowledge. In a few minutes, I don't know how long we have gone in the video. So please, if you do not understand, you can go over the videos below. Since you know what you should go and search online, you can go on YouTube, go online to check for this thing. I'm just trying to give you a direction to the things you should know. I might not be able to teach everything, and I might not be able to know everything, but then you can trust that every single thing I've mentioned here, you'll be needing them when you open the softwares. Alright, so I think that's that. So we are done with the basics to video editing now. I know you're happy. Next video we start editing. I think we're going to start next week. I'm not quite sure. Premiere Pro is supposed to be on Tuesday, and After Effects on Friday. Yeah. So let's say it goes. I think you guys are updated. And please, again, if you've not subscribed, please do so. And turn on the notification button so you can be informed. So you can be the first to see it, and so you do not get to miss out on any of the videos, any of the uploads, any of the tutorial series, whatever you call it. Alright, see you in the next video. Keep it real, guys. Peace.